Okay, so the beetle that I'm imaging today is family Tenebrionid, and it is a Eleodes longicalis, which is rather large, which is why I'm using the 100 millimeter, most likely at the 1-to-1 magnification. And the technique that I've developed that tends to work the best is what I call the double diffuser, which essentially you take one diffuser right here, put it around the beetle, and ensure that you're still in good shape. Take a second, larger diffuser, put it over the beetle, and then in the end what we're going to use is one of these guys, filter right here. And that's the basic setup. The next step is going to be adjusting the lighting correctly. And with the double diffuser setup, you can usually turn the lighting up pretty high because it's using two diffusers, and it just really distributes the lighting very well in there and gives you a nice, well-rounded distribution of that light, so you get a very quality image of the beetle. Okay, so I've got my camera focused in onto my beetle. My lighting is set up just like this, kind of facing the ceiling around the room on both of the lights, and I've got them both set at full power with a combined setting. And let's just take a test picture and see what happens here. Okay, so just from that preliminary setup, from what I had, this is my image that came out right here. And go ahead and check the developing, and we've got a little bit of darkness right around here and here, but those are not necessarily the most important parts of the beetle. What I'm going to go ahead and do is adjust the specimen a little bit more and maybe play with the lighting and see what I've got. I'm relatively satisfied with that though, but I think I want to turn one of the lights down to about half power, so that'll be the next step. Okay, so I turned one of the lights down to about half power, which I like the lighting. It's not too bright now, but we did end up with no exposure here. So what I'm going to do is readjust the lighting that I have set up and play around with it a little bit. But I'm pretty satisfied with how everything's turning out so far. Just have to get the lights set up correctly. With that double diffuser on there, really just a standard that I jump to immediately, and it's usually relatively quick to get a beetle imaged correctly. So, yeah, let's see what happens. So, what I'm going to do, very simple thing to do to increase the lighting, is just open these flaps up all the way. And same will go for this guy right over here. Just go ahead and open these up all the way. I found that's a very simple way to get your desired lighting. And I've still got everything set up, very standard, and let's go ahead and give this one. Okay, so this is what happened with a little bit of the adjusted lighting, and what it turns out is that we're relatively bright over here on this side, and we're still missing some exposure. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and point the light straight up into the air and not let anything reflect off the wall, because all this lighting that's hitting this side is reflecting off of the wall. Okay, so I pointed that light directly up to the ceiling and kept that one the same because it's pointed up there. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and turn the power all the way up to full again, because currently it's on half and full with a combined energy. So we'll give that a try and see how the okay, here we go. This is my image now with a with the both lights on full, and I changed the angle up to the top, and I personally am relatively satisfied with that. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and run run the image through and then stack the images and see how it turns out. Okay, so I took a suite of images for the dorsal shot, and now what I'm going to go ahead and do is set up for the lateral shot. So I'll just grab this nice little foam pinning block and set my beetle up like so, and ensure that the beetle is even. And do it this way. And now with this, you've got a much larger setup, so your smaller diffuser won't fit on there. So what I've found, it's a little trickier, but you put the pinning block facing the outside, and so any reflection that's going to hit the beetle is going to hit the wall and bounce back. So you want to try to minimize that. And so the essential basic setup is the same. Although this can get a little trickier. Okay, so this is the first shot that I took with the lateral shot with the same lighting that I had for the dorsal. And look at development. Our lighting is nice and bright enough, but there is this shine right in this area and here, which is coming from above. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just reduce the power on the lighting and keep it on the combined settings. So I'll reduce them both down to half and give that a shot and see what our result is after that. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now we still have that shine right there and not exposed in those areas. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is turn one of the power switches up to full, keep the other one on half, and add a filter onto one of the lights to try to reduce that reflection, and perhaps both lights. So I'll show you how that works here. Okay, so like I just said, what I'm going to do is add a filter onto the lighting, which is this little doohickey right here, which just shades the lights, and connect it onto there, and I'm going to go ahead and put one on both sides just to test it out. And what I'm going to do then is actually, instead of keeping one at full and one at half, I'm going to put them both onto full, since I did add those filters onto the lights. So, okay, so as you can see here, it is very dark with the filters on both of those lights, but we're still getting a shine right here. So what I'm going to do is go into live view and play around with the lights a little bit, take off one of the filters on the lights. I'll leave one filter on, and I'll see which of the lighting I'm getting this reflection here from, because I want to, it is a shiny beetle, but I don't want it to skew the specimen at all. So, okay, so here I am in live view, and I'm going to go ahead and play around with the lights a little bit to see where we're getting that reflection from on the left side of this beetle. Looks like somewhat from this light. Just one of the lights. Pick up the other light. Not a whole lot from the second light that still has the filter on it, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this one where it's at. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is turn on the ratio, and I'm going to see which of the lights give that bad reflection, which looks a lot like this one. A little bit by turning over one of the flaps. And essentially, when you're imaging the beetles and trying to get the lighting correctly, the initial setup with the diffusers and the filters helps a lot, but you've really got to play around with the lighting, and every beetle is different. So I'm going to go ahead and take a picture and see how this turns out. Here's my picture after playing with it a little bit. Still have a little bit of the shine right there. So I'm going to turn the power down on the light without the filter. This is what I ended up when I turned the power down on that one, and it's a little dark for my liking. As you can see right there, it's not exposed. So I'm going to turn the power back up on that and see where I'm at. Okay, here we go. I changed the angle and messed with the flaps a little bit on the lighting without the filter on it. Turned the power back up to full, and we still have a little shine here, but it is a shiny beetle. A little bit of unexposed area right there. But I think that I'm pretty satisfied with this image as of right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take a suite of the lateral shots and then stack them, and then I'll show you the outcomes for both of the images, and hopefully they turn out satisfactory. Okay, so I'm in Photoshop now, and I just added my scale markers and cropped the photo, and this is my final dorsal shot for the Eleodes longicalis. I'm pretty satisfied with it. It's a little dark in here and right here, but it's a rather shiny beetle, and it's kind of hard to image. But if you know what you're looking at, it's relatively easy to identify as an Eleodes longicalis, and you have the locality information. So that's the dorsal, and next will be the ventral, or the lateral, I mean. Okay, here's my final image, composite stacked image of the Eleodes longicalis lateral shot. And I'm really, really satisfied with this because it is relatively a shiny beetle, but I wanted to omit some of that shine, which I did, but it's still a shiny beetle, so we kind of want to see that in some of these areas because that's what it looks like, and we want to maintain specimen integrity in these images. So that's about it. The only additional recommendations that I would have for anybody would be to after you finish a beetle, such as my Eleodes longicalis right here, go through what other images you have to take and find a beetle that would be the similar shape, similar size, similar shininess, and try to utilize the lighting setup that you have currently set up. So that way, when you image a suite of specimens, you don't have to reset up your lighting system every time you image something. So yeah, just try to image the most similar beetles that way, or similar specimens altogether. That way you don't have to redo your lighting and your entire setup every image. That takes a lot more time, and we want to run as efficiently as possible. Thank you.